Memphis is the home of the blues, rock and roll, and Earle Farrell.
From the Collierville Square to the mighty Mississippi, the Earle Farrell for Memphis show is all about good things that happen across the Bluff City and the people who make Memphis cool.
The Earle Farrell for Memphis show is made possible by our title sponsor, Southern Security Federal Credit Union.
By Dive Shop and Dive Ventures nationwide. Jim Karras Chevrolet with George Gully. For Memphis Magazine. The Live at the Garden Concert Series. And the Orpheum Theater Group Memphis. And by Mitch Wright Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, family owned and operated for more than 40 years. And brought to you by High-Low Commercial Services, owned by the cleanest man in the world. And by Walker Auctions, LLC. When it's time to sell, Walker Auctions doesn't fiddle around. Thank you to all the sponsors for making this possible.
And now, coming to you from Lansky Brothers, Clothier to the King, inside the world-famous Peabody Hotel, with the heart of a cowboy and Memphis in his soul. Ladies and gentlemen, here's your host, Earle Farrell.
And thank you very much, and welcome into Lansky's. As Ron and Karen just said, we're here at the world-famous Peabody Hotel, and we're live, and we have a very special guest and a good friend for a long time, Dave Woloshin, who we both got here pretty much close to the same time. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm honored on the 80th birthday
of Lansky's,
Lansky's, and over your 100th show.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. It took you a little while, but
it took
thank
you a while to come on. I kept asking, and you kept saying, "Get back to me when you're successful."
Well, you've done that.
Well, and so have you. You've had a great career. Still are in the midst of it. I think you do an absolutely incredible job in your play-by-play in both basketball, football, really everything you've ever done. I was just amazed when I first started listening to you, especially in basketball play-by-play, because it's so much football that jumps and squirts, you know. Mm-hmm. He's at the 5, no, he's down. But in basketball, it just doesn't stop. And you got to be able to speak as you see it, which means your eyes are telling your brain and tells your mouth. And I've tried to do that myself at home with my son. And I've been in broadcasting my whole life, and all I do is ad-lib. But to do that, to speak to what you see, is really a phenomenal talent.
Oh, I appreciate that. I love doing it. And, you just have to focus. And,
that was my problem.
You're about a half a beat behind the action.
The action, yeah.
And therefore you can recover in case something happens. You just sort of go with the emotions of the game, and they do play a part in what your call is going to be like.
But I've never heard you at a loss for words. I mean, you've never gone, you were always...
No, I've been heartbroken, 2008. But no, I'm thank goodness I'm not at a loss for words.
The very first thing I ever did on television was the weather. I was working on the floor in production, and they wanted somebody that could fill in, and one of the weather guys didn't show or got sick or something. And so they were training me. I was learning the names of all the states, because
right.
They don't write them on the weather board, so you got to know what you're pointing to. And so I was doing all that and practicing. And one night they came in after the 6 o'clock news and said, "Hey, you're on tonight." I said, "I don't have a tie or a jacket or anything." So they kind of outfitted me from stuff they found in closets around station. Had a broken pointer. Back in those days, you had a wooden pointer. It had been masking tape back together. My hand was shaking so bad. It looked like that pencil, deal, which making it look like it's rubber. And I broke out in a sweat because I was like, I'm going to lose it. I'm not going to remember where I am. I got through it, and all the guys on the floor laughing their butts off because we're friends, and they want to see me die out there. I finally get through it, and I told the newspaper, I'll never do that again. He goes, "You were really pretty good." He said, "Most people just stop and turn and walk off the set, never to return." He said, "You got through it, and it'll never be that tough again." And he was right. You always have a plan B in your head. If this happens, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to say.
Right.
And I'm sure that's been your...
Well, where I went to school, Southern Illinois University, I picked that particular school because they had a great radio and TV department. So in 1971, as a freshman, I made the broadcast. Now, you had to learn different things, and the weather was really cool because they had all these little toys. They were magnets. And yet, I can't remember if we had identified the states or you just had to know. You had to know the Southern Illinois area for sure,
Well,
and the cities within there. But you just put the little H for high pressure or low for low pressure, and they really didn't explain it that much. They just said
We have a high
you'd read
pressure
what the
system.
weather service put out,
Yeah.
and then you made up stuff.
Well, we used to always say down in the valley there's this little town called Alice, and we'd say, "Well, Alice got 6 inches again today," and because that was a big weatherman joke. And then, of course, you knew everything in Texas, and slowly you learn to think the high pressure system pushes the front forward or up, depending on where the high pressure is. A low makes it go counterclockwise, and this is why it's or clockwise. It's counterclock. And that's why a wraparound effect will take. When the front's gone through, you still could get some rain out of the same system. And I like the weather, so it was fun for me to do. But it's all ad lib, which was great for my career because the rest of my career I did so many live reports from the field,
Right.
and this show's live, your show's live, your radio show.
Well, I've always thought, my favorite part of doing 6 and 10 News was the live spot.
Yeah.
And that's because I really liked the ad lib more than the read. I could do the read,
yeah.
but I never liked being the anchor, and I learned that when I first came here because I was hired to be the sports director
At WHBQ.
At HBQ, and it was the ABC station. I replaced a guy who was just a wonderful fella named Charlie B. Watson.
Charlie B.
Charlie B. was a great radio guy, by the way. He hated television. He would be so nervous before
he went on?
a simple little sportscast, seriously, that I felt bad for him. And, man, but he was such a nice guy, and he showed me the ropes of that station, and I was actually brought in to show him some ropes, like how to build a video file and that sort of thing.
He came from
for
radio,
those
had
days.
no TV background.
Yeah, no, he had none, but he was a good communicator, and people loved him.
They did love him. Yeah.
They really did love him. And then I was here for I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 months, and he goes, "Dave, I hate this job. I'm going to retire.
Wow.
I'm going to move to Florida. I got a buddy down there that owns a furniture store, and I'm going to consult with him, and I'm just going to take life easy, and I want you to have this job because I know you're ready for it," which was very kind of him. And and then I learned, honestly, I did not love it. I did not like sitting in a studio all day long
never covered
to
anything.
do 3.5 minutes, because you were getting 3.5 minutes back in those days. 3.5 minutes of sports. All you were doing was cutting up video, writing to that video. I liked the 3.5 minutes I was on.
It was just too short.
but that prep, to me, was boring.
Yeah.
I wanted to be out. I liked doing live shots. I wouldn't mind doing a story on somebody. I preferred that than to just sitting in a chair reading a teleprompter.
Scores and highlights. I got here in '78. Were you there? Because I know.
No, I didn't get here till 81.
Because when I got here, Fran Fawcett was the main female anchor. Charlie B. was doing sports. Byron Day, as I recall, was doing weather. And they were number one in the market.
Yeah, Ed might have been Ed Craig at the time.
Craig, yes.
But I will tell you, the guy that brought me here was short-lived here. So I mentioned that I worked for this student station in Carbondale, which was WSIU, Channel 8, PBS TV. And at the same time when I was doing those bits for the student station, microwave came into being. So they opened up a bureau in Carbondale, and the American Family had just bought this mom and pop outfit that had unbelievable numbers in Cape Girardeau. It was the CBS affiliate. They were doing numbers like you would not believe. The NBC station and the CBS station, our station, just monopolized the market, and the ABC station, which was in Harrisburg, Illinois, at that time did nothing. So they saw me, and they said, "We'd like for you to be a part of this bureau." And they had never done weekend sports. We're going to bring you in to be the weekend sports anchor. It's all because of microwave. And that's really how I got into TV.
You didn't have to move there. You were where they wanted you to be.
I moved there after I graduated to work full-time, which I ended up working 1 year.
But the amazing thing is you were still in school, and they saw
Oh,
you,
yes.
and they said, this kid's got some
Oh yeah,
talent.
no, that was for a whole year that I was going to school. I was doing an Earle Farrell. That's really what I was doing. I was working for the rock station in the morning, WTAO. I would go to class, and then in the afternoons, I would go and help out with the bureau, whatever kind of story they needed, or if Southern Illinois was playing a basketball game or a baseball game, I would go cover that.
But did you think that you were really fortunate to have had that much success? Because most college students can't even get on with their college station because they got to wait till the pecking order graduates.
I did feel fortunate. I mean, I was one of those guys. I went there. Now, I had to pay for my own college.
Yeah, so did I.
So I had two choices: the University of Illinois, which I got into, and Southern Illinois University. The other school I would have loved to have been able to go to, Northwestern,
Sure.
was two things that weren't going to make that happen.
Expensive?
One, expense, and two, I wasn't smart enough to get in to Northwestern.
Oh, I couldn't get into Texas now, and that's where I went.
Yeah.
I majored in radio, television, and film there. I remember going to this guy named Joe Roddy at KTBC, which was owned by Lyndon Johnson.
Oh,
Actually, it was in Lady Bird's name because you know how
I
Johnson,
do remember that. Yeah, yeah.
And Joe Roddy he was the nicest man. He was the news director, and I'd go to him. I was majoring in radio, television, and film, but I figured I could just circumvent that, go straight to work for a TV station. So I'd go and say, hey, could I read an audition for you? And he'd say, okay, and put me in a booth. Then he'd have me read some copy, and he goes, well, that's getting better, Earl. Is you need to just, wherever you drive or wherever you go, read out loud billboards and anything you see that's written down. Read it and try to work on your accent. I said, you mean I got an accent?
Yeah.
A little bit. But I was like pronouncing Bob Wire. He says it's Bob Wire. Years later, I ran into him at a National News Directors Association meeting in Dallas after I'd worked in Midland, Odessa, Tyler, Texas. And I see him at this conference. I'm over there. I said, Joe, it's Earle Farrell. He said, you know, it never doubted me. I never doubted for a minute you would not make it to the big time because he said, you bugged the hell out of me. He said, do you remember what I told you at the time? I said, yeah, you told me to go back to my hometown and bug them the way I bugged you. And he said, you will get a job. And that's exactly what happened. But it's that was back in those days. We really were making a lot of that up ourselves because nobody had ever done a lot of it. I mean, there was no book on this is how you run a news operation or a sports operation. Mm-hmm. And so everything we did, you say, I wonder if this would work. And well, you were probably going through the same thing where you were.
Well, I had a lot of freedom. Like I said, they'd never had a weekend anchor and sports anchor. And so I actually lived, or the guy let me into his house, he and his wife. So I would come Saturday and work there, and I would spend Saturday night at this guy's house, who ended up working there for like 40 years.
Wow.
And then
yeah, well, nobody ever let me at their house.
yeah.
I'll do.
And then Sunday do the thing, and then go back to Carbondale. But I had a lot of freedom, and they gave me as much time as I wanted. Jim Burns was the name of the guy who was with KFES TV for all those years. He just retired, but he and his wife let me stay, and he goes, oh, you want 6 minutes tonight? I go, sure. You can have it.
Here's a photograph of you in your early career.
Yeah.
And they called you the Boat.
Right.
And that was because of the Showboats?
It was the Showboats. The name was given to me by George Lapidus, and I didn't really like the name at first. So I tried saying, yeah, well, thanks, Chief Chickasaw, because at the time he was doing that show, and he was also the general manager of the Chicks.
I forgot that. Yeah.
And that never stuck, but that Boat Woloshin did. That is, Steve Earhart will still call me Boat Woloshin. And I got to correct you as much as I would love to be called the voice of the original Showboats. I was the director of the broadcast and did the pre and the post game. The original voice, believe it or not, was John Ward. The Showboats hired John Ward to do the first year of their games.
And who was John Ward? I don't even...
You don't know who John Ward is? John Ward is probably one of the most famous sports voices in the history of the state of Tennessee. He is the man that created the Tennessee Vol Network.
We'll see.
And he was the longtime voice of Tennessee for 30 or 40 years. Bob Kessling replaced him. Now Mike Keith has finally replaced Bob Kessling after 25 years. But you're going way back. I mean, they did have Lindsey Nelson.
Oh, I remember
he was the
Lindsey
original
Nelson,
voice.
yeah.
But John Ward came up with the network. He made millions off the school.
Well, see, I was Southwest Conference, but I watched Texas A&M,
Yeah.
all the Texas teams. And I did watch Tennessee, but I didn't know who the voice of was because I didn't listen to it on radio.
John did it for a year. Then they let guy who was an investigative reporter. His dad was also a TV executive at Channel 3, the investigative reporter.
Mike Lawhead?
Mike Lawhead.
Yes.
Mike Lawhead did it, I don't know, not for long. And then Tom Stocker
Sure. He worked with him at Channel 3.
was the voice. I was now hiring guys. Paul Hartledge was my sideline
Sure.
guy.
Remember Paul?
And I did the pre and the post and loved every minute. I mean, that was the first taste of big-time sports. Billy Donovan said, we're an NFL team.
Yeah.
We flew the Air Atlanta charters, the same ones the NFL teams were doing, all the liquor, steak, Haagen-Dazs ice cream at the end. I mean, with linens and real silverware. I mean, it was unbelievable taste of the big time. And that league was filled with a bunch of NFL guys.
Well, look at you. You brought in, what was it, Kick and Zonka? Or one of them.
Oh, that was the World Football League that they brought in. We had one of the greatest football players of
Reggie
all time,
White.
Reggie White. Barney Bussey was on that team. The running back from Ohio State, whose name escapes me at the moment, Louis Sharp, who was an all-pro lineman. I mean, Billy Donovan and Steve Earhart, they
Really put together a team.
were really, and Pepper Rogers, come on now.
Yeah.
Pepper Rogers was one of the most fun
Oh.
individuals to work with that you will ever find. The only other coach, well, there's a couple. I love Tommy West, but John Calipari was the same way. Pepper was a little like this for me with John. They wanted to bicker with you.
Yeah.
Like John wanted me to give him crap.
Yeah.
And he loved giving me crap. And it just was, a ball. It was
debate
joyous.
with
Yeah.
laughter. Pepper and I got to be really good friends, and I was doing the morning show with Ron Olson in FM 100 when that season started because I'd come to Channel 3. Then a guy named DeMichaels with FM 100 was with me one day at
I remember him.
Bombay Bicycle Club. I was kind of holding court down at the end of the
And
bar.
that became Peppers.
Yes, it did become Pepper.
Yeah.
But I'm down there telling stories, and everybody's laughing. He goes, "Yeah, you're a really pretty funny guy. We got an opening at FM 100. Why don't you come over?" So we worked out a deal and went over there. And but I remember that Reggie came to go to play for the Showboats. And the first game, no, it was before the season even started. He comes here to Lansky's, and he bought all these clothes, including 1,000 pairs, or maybe that's an exaggeration, 500 pairs of socks.
Yeah.
And he was catching so much heat over that. So on the radio, Olson and I go, look, in honor of Reggie, the next game, when they come out, everybody bring a big white knee socks and swing it over your head. Pepper, he hears about it. We were talking about the radio, and Reggie was just heartbroken. They're making fun of him. He said, Reggie, we're going to turn this lemon into lemonade.
Right. That's exactly how it happened. I
And
remember it.
he gave all the players knee socks, and when they came running out, we're all swinging our socks. Guess what? The entire team, led by Reggie, had a white sock.
Right.
Everybody loved it.
Mike Fleming, I remember, wrote a story about that. And they did, because Reggie's side of it, not taking sides here, but he's a young guy, right?
Yeah.
Just coming into some money, not a wealthy dude at all, comes down here, and he got pushed into a bunch of socks. And I think Mike Fleming wrote a story pertaining to that.
Yeah.
And that was where they swapped the tables, and they made it, as you said, lemonade.
Well, Ron, I still laugh about that, but Reggie turned out to be just one of the best football players of all time.
Definitely.
And,
He's in the Hall of Fame. He played for Philly and Green Bay. He was clearly the best player the Showboats had. I would watch him, and we had good running backs. Two of them played in the NFL. He could outrun the running backs.
Yeah, he was so quick. And we all owe it to him. Anybody who's ever been on CPAC, breathing machines.
Yeah, right.
Because he died of
Sleep apnea.
Sleep apnea, and nobody really knew what that was then. They thought it was just snoring.
Yeah.
But it ended up killing him, and it was such a tragedy. He was at the peak of his career, and still in great shape, and but it just shocked everybody. But as time goes by, his name does not disappear. They still talk about Reggie.
Yeah. No.
And probably always will.
Funny guy, too. People might not know this, but he did impressions.
Oh, really?
He could do Rodney Dangerfield. He could do Pepper Rogers. On Planes After Winds, when we've had a few, and I'm not saying Reggie did, but, he would take over. He would grab the microphone, and he would do these things. And he was
heard that.
Such a great character. And one of the great football players of all time, as you say.
I got peppered. He was doing open tryouts for the Showboats, and so I went over there, and they suited me up in practice gear, and he did the same, up, down, blowing his little whistle, and I'm dying, man. I did about.
So you did that for just a
news story,
one of those what do they call them pieces? Participation pieces,
reporter involved.
Yeah, there you go.
And so I'm doing that. I'm running these sprints, and he's got me on a tackle dummy slide, and he's standing on the slide, and I'm hitting as far as I can. He ain't moving. But it was a hilarious piece. But that's when I really started to get to know Pepper. And we were friends even after he moved to Arlington.
Yeah.
And his wife. And I've had her on my show several times. And she was a big actress.
Oh, yeah.
In Hollywood. Her name was,
she did a bunch of B movies.
She was on Perry Mason. She was in all
Livingston
those TV
Rogers.
shows. Yep.
Although I'm trying to remember
Her
what her
name
maiden
was
name.
Lake.
Livingston Lake?
It may have been Veronica Lake. But that was their stage name. But she was a model before that.
Oh, yeah.
And just a beautiful.
You want to talk about two characters, larger than life, those two together. Now, I know Pepper's passed. I think Livingston has passed away as well.
I think she has. Maybe not. They're going so fast here, and I can't keep up, as you well know. I mean, it's just the interesting thing was you then left here and went to KRLD in Dallas.
Yes,
I don't know if I got a picture. No, this is back when you were doing sports here. But let's talk about Dallas for a little bit, because I went there. I guess it was 74.
This picture is last year in the Bahamas.
Oh, when y'all went to cover
did
the tournament?
Not a fun.
No,
not a fun trip as far as wins, but yeah, because that's Trey Draper, who did some games with me early on. Now Kenny Moody, I believe, is going to be the guy, but that's just last year. Yeah.
Well, when you were in Dallas, because I went to Dallas after Tyler, and I remember getting there, and they said we covered the Cowboys. So the first weekend I get to Dallas at KTBT, where I go to the Texas OU game. And the Friday night before the Texas OU game, which I'd never been to before, and that is the wildest scene I'd ever been to up until that point. I mean, downtown Dallas, they're driving around in white Cadillacs, Coupe de Villes, convertibles with Longhorns on the front hood. They're throwing chairs out of hotel room windows. I mean, it's a riot. And they're driving chuck wagons with the OU on the side down Main Street in downtown Dallas. Then the next day was a Texas OU game. Then the next day the Cowboys played, and I'm going, I can't believe these are teams I grew up watching. And then all of a sudden I'm in the Dallas locker room with Too Tall and Harvey Martin. And,
right.
And I'm going, but they were all walking around naked. So you don't go up to them and go, hey, put her in a vice, And of course now there's women there, so everybody kind of gets decent before they let the media in. But that was the greatest experience of my life, just being there. And you go to the Cowboy luncheons on Tuesday, and it was a great time.
I was. And I worked for the Cowboys Network. So that was a big deal for me. I'm just sitting here working at WREC Radio because I go now to start to do talk radio. I did not mind giving up television. I got an offer to do women's basketball on radio for the U of M. And do this talk show with George Lapidus. I take a pay cut, but I realized already, I just don't love being an anchor. And so I wanted to do things that really interested me. And I get a call from a buddy who is still a good friend. We went to high school together. I'm going to see him in 2 weeks at my 55th reunion. His name is George Hoffman. George goes, hey, I've gotten this, kind of an offer. They want to interview me for this incredible radio station in Dallas. It's called KRLD. It's like WGN's impact in Chicago. So I could understand that. And you should send a tape to these guys. Send it to Brad Sham, who's the voice of the Cowboys.
I remember Brad Sham.
So I put together this tape. I had my University of Memphis women's basketball tape because this thing included doing Texas A&M games and being the morning anchor on KRLD. And so, I send the tape. I never think I have a chance, honestly. I'm in Memphis. The best play-by-play I've done is the University of Memphis women, which they were good in those days, Mary Lou Jones. But, And then the next thing I know, I get a call from Brad. He goes, "We'd like to interview you." So I go there. They put me up at the mansion on Turtle Creek.
Sure, right.
So
downtown.
that is like this hotel, but on the Turtle Creek. I mean, it's big. And so I go down, I interview, and like 2 days later, he calls. He goes, "We'd like you to start as soon as you could."
Wow, that's
so
huge.
I went there, and I will tell you, this was an amazing group of people. I'll just tell you who was on this broadcast team. So Brad Sham is the sports director, and he's the voice of the Cowboys, and he does a thing called Sports America. It was, I'd been doing.
It was ESPN before ESPN.
Well, yeah, it had such a big reach. It had all of Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas. So that was pretty amazing. And Brad is really a good guy. And then we had a guy named Chuck Cooperstein. He did middays. He still became the voice of the Dallas Mavericks. Our fifth guy in this thing is a guy named Craig Way. Craig Way is the voice of the Texas Longhorns.
Wow.
Me and a guy named Brian Briscoe, who kind of left radio for a while, and he ran the Texas Motorsports Speedway. You're talking about 5 individuals as a collection. Fran Frischella's wife, if you know who Fran is, she's a native Dallasite.
Dallasite.
And she used to call us, she goes, "Oh, you were a member of the Dream Team."
Well, it was exciting. I just would keep pinching myself that I'm even there. And then when I get to Memphis, and I'd been in Dallas, so everybody said, "Why do you want to come to Memphis?" I said, "I needed a change. I'd gone through a divorce. I just wanted to get out of town and not have to answer questions." I knew nobody in Memphis, which I liked. I mean, nobody. And I got here, and you find out really quickly that Memphians like you if they like you, but if they don't like you, they just don't hang around you.
So when you came here 47 years ago, if I do my math correctly, you knew not a soul?
Nobody. Fortunately, I moved in downstairs, one floor below Pat and John Tigert.
Oh, wow. No, that was a good choice of apartment.
I had no idea who they were, but
Right.
I soon found out. They introduced me to everybody. Fred Smith. I mean, I knew all the mayors. I knew everybody in government, big business. And then hanging out at Bombay Bicycle Club, I met the rest of the world. And within a year, I knew just tons of people here. And I just thought it was so much more genuine than Dallas. And the short time you were there, Dallas is a very pretentious town.
It is.
And
there's a lot of superficial parts of it. Frankly, though, the radio station crew were good people. So that part I didn't mind. I'll tell you what I did mind was I could not wake up at 3:30 in the morning. I just could not do that. And I went in to see Brad, and I begged him, move me to a different time slot. I'll take less money. And he goes, "No, we got you in this slot." And I'm doing A&M games, which I love doing, but every game is a road game unless they played SMU and TCU. So I had a chance to come back here to start doing the Tigers on TV. I had my first wife was very much in the picture still at that point. So I came back, and I've never looked back.
We're going to take a quick break. We're talking to Dave Woloshin and find out about his return to Memphis, his involvement with the University of Memphis, and all the other things you've been. I also want to talk about all that you've done. Hockey, you've done bow and arrow hunting. I mean, if there's a sport,
yes, I've done so many weird stuff, like live pool on ESPN. I'll tell you about that.
It's a bank shot. All right, we're talking with Dave Woloshin. We're going to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. Please stay with us.
Hi, this is Dawn Grader, President and CEO of Southern Security Federal Credit Union at our new headquarters here in Collierville, Tennessee, off by Hellier Road. We are the proud presenting sponsor of the Earle Farrell for Memphis show and are looking forward to a great 2026 where some of the shows will be hosted from our new headquarters location here in Collierville.
Hello, Memphis Mid-South. And first, I'd like to thank you for visiting with Earle Farrell Memphis today. And we want to support him just like you do. I'm George Gully, one of the sales managers at Jim Carrey Chevrolet. We've been in business here in Memphis for over 75 years. I've been associated with the company for almost 25. And I'll help you find the right car, truck, or SUV here at not only our Chevy store, but also Buick, GMC, Nissan, Subaru. We can help you find that right car. Keep watching Earl and come see me. Thanks so much.
Hi, I'm Mitch Wright. And I'm his son, Mickey. And we're the owners of Mitch Wright Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
And proud sponsors of the Earle Farrell for Memphis show.
We're thankful to be part of the Memphis community. We've been in business for 42 years, taking care of people and loving the people of the Mid-South.
Hi, I'm Jamison Totten, the director of Live at the Garden and the Radiance Amphitheater.
Hi, I'm Olivia Wall. I'm the director of marketing communications at the Memphis Botanic Garden.
We've got a great season coming up for you this year. We've got Alabama to start out.
Next up, we have Little Big Town.
After that, we have Deep Purple and with special guest Kansas.
Coming up, we have John Legend.
Next, we have Cool in the Gang and Patti LaBelle on September 18th. Our last show. It'll be a great show. So come on out, bring your cooler, your friends, your drinks and your food, and have a great time at Live at the Garden under the stars.
Hi, this is Randy Wright from the Dive Shop and Dive Ventures in Memphis. We've been in Memphis over 64 years teaching people to dive, snorkel, and swim. We'd love to have you come join us and have some fun. We're also a part of the Dive Ventures group with 18 locations across the country, stretched from Phoenix to Vienna, Virginia. Please give us a call. We'll be able to take care of you at 999 South Yates in Memphis or call us at 901-763-DIVE.
Hi, I'm Brett Batterson, President and CEO of the Orpheum Theater Group in downtown Memphis. We are so pleased with our partnership with the Earle Farrell Show and very happy that he is broadcasting live from Lansky's at the historic Peabody Hotel. We're all here to make Memphis better.
I'm Lance Walker, fast talker. This is Eric Walker, and we're auctioneers and realtors with Walker Auctions, based here in Memphis, Tennessee. We help people sell assets. We can sell your house. We can sell your land. We can sell the contents of your house. We can even sell things like your four-wheeler. We can sell your mule, your pickup. We can sell your trailer because we sell a lot of equipment. If you've got a business to liquidate, we can help you do that as well. Go to our website at walkerauctions.com, or if you want to, give us a call, 901-493-1936. And remember, when it's time to sell, Walker Auctions doesn't fiddle around.
Hospitals ask him for advice. Janitors ask him for autographs. He once cleaned a mirror so well it became a window. He once cleaned a subway pole, and crime dropped 40%. He has never once read the instructions on a bottle of shampoo. The shampoo already knows what to do. Even bleach thinks he overdoes it a little. Soap companies use him as the control group. Even his shadow practices good hygiene. He once cleaned a public restroom. Now it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. His laundry detergent contains 0% chemicals, just a photo of him on the bottle. He once coughed in a hospital, and everyone got healthier. The CDC occasionally calls him for backup. The 5-second rule doesn't apply around him. He organized a junk drawer so well, it's now a museum. He is the cleanest man in the world.
I don't always drink, but when I do, even the ice cubes feel disinfected.
The most cleanest man in the world. Great spot. This is also the 18th of May is the 80th birthday of the opening day for Lansky Brothers on Beale Street. So happy birthday to Lansky's, and what an accomplishment that is.
80 years for any business.
Any
wow.
business. 5 years for any business. But and they're still operational and still better than ever. So congratulations to them. We got another pick here. And Jim, who works here, put up all the decorations. Thank you, Jim, and some of the other staff members. Kathy had asked Hal what they were going to do for the 80th birthday. He goes, I really haven't given it much thought. Hal, it's your 80th birthday, you know? But congratulations to Lansky's and the entire staff here at the store inside the lobby of the Peabody. So that's a big deal.
Since 80 years. There was just a story on a good friend of mine named Ted Butler, who's a golf instructor.
I took lessons from him.
Me too. 100,000 lessons he's given since he started
That's
in
amazing.
Memphis. How many suits or sport coats do you think Lansky's has sold in 80 years?
It could be approaching 100,000.
I know. Think about that.
Well, they've done well, and the people we see coming in here, and I wear a different jacket on every show, and all the people
You're
that
like
come
Doc Severinsen.
Well, that's what I tell people. I say, we look like the Johnny Carson show on my podcast because everybody looks great. And you do, and once you start wearing them, because you end up saying, I'm going to have to buy this one. And people say that you need to buy that one. And you watch the comments you get, and it's just you'll be, put that on hold. And then once you start wearing them, you get confidence wherever you go. I was at the announcement of the Live at the Garden, the lineup this year, and there were 4 other guys in there with Lansky jackets. Of course, I wore one of mine, and they said, Earle, it spread like wildfire since you started wearing those jackets on your show. And Hal loves it, of course, and the staff loves it here, and the Peabody loves it because the whole thing together really is a great platform. It's so iconic, Memphis, and of course, Lansky's 80 years, and the Peabody more than that. Let's go back 125 years.
Crazy.
Let's get back to your career.
It's not 80 years old.
No. And you don't even look 80. It is, you came back from Dallas because you were getting up at 3:30 in the morning and just said, I ain't doing this.
Right.
Which I did when I was at FM 100. I was getting up not at 3:30, but I was getting up at like 6, and I was still single. And I remember hanging around the hospitals at shift change at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Hey, you want to go get a drink? And that didn't work, so I said, I got to get back to regular hours. So I went back to Channel 3. But when you came back, you went to work for which station?
I was hoping to get back with WREC, and it took a minute. So I went to work for where I work right now on Mount Moriah and Ridgeway, which is now Flynn Broadcasting headquarters. But back in those days, Knox Phillips' wife, Betty, ran a radio station there, and she put me on. I believe I had to buy the time and then sell it, and I made it, kind of through. And I did that for I don't know about maybe a year, maybe not quite that long. And then Sherry Sawyer hired me back at REC. I'd been working for her. She's the best boss I ever had, by the way, blessed memory. But I really came back because I had the opportunity to start doing ball games on TV. So I started doing the U of M in 1986 on TV, sort of kind of a host and fill-in play-by-play for a guy named White. I'm trying to remember his first name. They were bringing him in from Kansas City.
Wow.
And I don't know if you remember Kent Lilly. Kent Lilly ran 24 and 30. And
I do remember
he was a really sharp mover and shaker. And for whatever reason, he wanted a local guy. So he was moving White out and me in. And I'll never forget, I was on a road trip because I was also doing the Memphis Storm soccer team on radio. So I came back to do a bunch of different stuff and to make it all work. And it was working. And I was on this road trip, and he goes, look, I know you're doing this game tonight on radio. I think we can work it out with both these schedules, and you'll be my TV host and my backup play-by-play guy for Tiger basketball. And I said, I'm in. And, that's really how it began. So my career with the U of M began in '83 with the women, and then it really started on TV with the men, which I've been doing ever since.
When you do a game for a school, and you are the voice of that game in that school, but you hear some people that are so biased. I always thought that even though we're obviously for the University of Memphis,
right,
you still call the games even. You didn't say, well, that was they stole that from us. It's always been like it was being a reporter during the area. You didn't tell people how to think. You just gave them the information and let them figure it out.
Well, I'm going to attribute that to my upbringing in Chicago. I think there's a Midwestern thing, no accents, so they say.
You can borrow some of mine.
Yeah. and I always felt like my job was to let you know I'm for this team to win, but I am going to be honest about what I see.
And call it as you saw it.
If Memphis blows the game, they blew the game. Yeah. It wasn't stolen. They blew it. And I'm sad about it, but that's what really happened. And, I got to tell the story of the game, too. If you just root for the team, you're not telling the story of the game. So that I try to, my theory is, I want you to know I'm for your team. I'm with you on this. But I'm going to be fair to everybody over it. Now, I know I have some couple of friends who are referees. They don't always think I'm fair.
Because you do challenge them. But you don't, if you got a guy on a team that's playing your team, the University of Memphis, and they're really good and playing a great game, you say that. This guy is on fire tonight.
Yeah, you admire it. We've seen some players that have had our number. They're really good.
Yeah.
Because if you can do that to Memphis, you got to be pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. And then you start doing football as well.
Yes.
And
I was doing football on TV in '86 as well. So that whole package involved TV games. We were only doing like 3 or 4 games
back then.
But the basketball package was big because you didn't do that many home games.
Meant you travel,
but you did every road game,
and
that was fun for me.
How do you think you have progressed? Because no matter what you do get better with experience.
Sure.
And you look back at your early games, if you ever see a tape or a highlight of something and hear yourself. I look back on things. I was amazed that I was that good back when I was young, because I said a lot of that I don't even remember, and I thought, boy, how did I think of that?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is why when musicians are young, they come up with most of their hits when they're young. That's when your talent is really blossoming. But the great thing about broadcasting is, as long as you're able to, you can keep doing it until you're geezers like we are.
Well, I do think you probably reach a limit. They're going to say, "Well, this guy lost his fastball." I heard them say that about Al Michaels. I don't particularly agree with that.
I think Al Michaels had the best voice and flavor of describing what was going on as anybody that's ever done.
I agree. NBC gave up on him a little too early.
I think they did.
But so there may be a shelf life. There may be a point where you're not getting better every year. But when you're young, you make enthusiastic mistakes. For me, I would say I tried to have too much description, and that slows your ability to bring the message out, because you're just trying to be too fancy sometimes. Keep it simple, stupid, kiss. That applies, and the most important thing is you can try to be creative and make it cool. And it's more fun for you that way. But you always have to deliver what the heck you're seeing, because that image has to be there for the listener.
And also, it is for the listener. I've noticed recently on golf tournaments, they've got some new announcers on, because so many of the guys we've listened to, Vern Lundquist, all these people for years and years. And these young guys, you can tell they're trying to be cute, and they're making up these little phrases and saying things that they're trying to act like a really casual about it, but they're not just saying, boy, that was a very close putt right there. And he's been putting close all day, but he's not been hitting. But they come up with all these other little adjectives and antidotes and all this. And just call the shots. We all know he just missed. We were watching.
Right.
And but I think the experience comes from knowing to shut up.
Oh, particularly TV.
Yeah.
Because radio is so much different, and that I'm appreciative that I learned both of those art forms, because TV is a lot different. TV, first of all, the analyst is really the star. They enhance the pictures more than the play-by-play guy does. The play-by-play guy has to make the analyst the star and feed him, set him up, and they both need to know the pictures are going to tell the story when to stop speaking. Where radio is, the play-by-play guy's the star. The analyst should enhance it a little bit with the why of that moment, but the image has to be presented by the one guy, the play-by-play guy, who is trying to give you the whole picture.
Bill McAdoo, I worked with in Tyler, Texas, went to NBC, then CBS.
And CBS for years.
Yeah, he just retired a couple of years ago.
Backed up Nance.
Yeah.
He unfortunately got behind, one of the greats of all time.
Nance is still there.
Oh, yeah.
And
at $20 million a year.
Yeah, but he's still just as good.
Oh, yeah.
When you listen to the Masters and they play that music, and then he comes on and starts describing this first day of the Masters and going back in the history, it is almost like you're listening to, it's Sammy Snead talking about golf, or he's that good and that respectful of that venue, the history of that venue.
Yeah.
And then you compare him to other people, the people trying to come up and break through, and you shouldn't even try to challenge that. You should just get out of the way, make your own way in the world, and come up with your own style, because Jim Nance is just amazing and a true talent.
Yeah, man, he's got incredible recall, too. He knows stories that he's been told from the 30s or 40s with instant recall.
Yeah.
He's impressive.
And we're all blessed if you get to retain your faculties, because sooner or later everybody loses their fastball, but he has not, and I think he would be the first to say, I think it's time to hang it up. From your perspective and where you are with your career now, and watching the changes in broadcasting, changes in local television, news, sports coverage, would you advise a young person to get into the TV, radio
business? That's a great
now?
question. I would, as a play-by-play person, yes, and I think you got more opportunities. Because everybody is streaming.
Yeah.
Used to be radio. Now everybody is streaming. And if you can learn how to monetize that, all right, you're in good shape. As far as news and sports goes, I'm worried about that industry for sure. Look, that we have 4 affiliates in this town, correct? Mm-hmm. And I'm not counting PBS, but the 2430 group, Channel 13, 5, and 3. Out of those 4, who all did sports, only 2
are doing
it now on a regular newscast. And I don't know if that's going to go away anytime soon. I know both those entities, 3 and 5, that still do it, are also trying to put together streaming things, building studios for shows like this, podcasts. So they're going in that direction, and I think they're going away from news. And a lot of that is because on your phone, you can get the highlights of the day. You can get the scores instantaneously. And so there's this sense, unless you're going to do something on a high school team, on a miniature golf tournament, there's no real need for sports because you're getting it from ESPN or your phone.
Instantly.
Yeah. And so they're devaluing sports. So I'm not sure that I would steer a student into 5, 6, and 10 news anymore.
Well, I do think that podcasts are where it's going now. Now, who knows what the next invention will be. But it can be pretty.
But hasn't technology always changed the way news or sports is consumed, and how I'll never forget this because I've always been a newspaper guy. I used to, when I was a kid, I would read the Tribune and the Sun-Times in Chicago because my parents got them both. Yeah. Right. Here's my boss, George Lapidus. He's the guy that's teaching me how to be a talk radio guy. He was the sports editor of the paper. He was very much
press
emitter. Yeah. And his kids are really brilliant children. They stop reading the newspaper. And he's saying it. He goes, I just can't believe it, this new generation. Even my own kids don't read the paper. And I'm thinking, and this is 20 years ago. Yeah. So things always change, and technology is probably the chief amongst the reason for the change.
But even with new technology, the Commercial Appeal did not keep up with that because they're printing in Jackson, Tennessee now. You don't get it delivered until the next day.
I know. They're trying to stop you from doing it. You will, mark my words, Earle Farrell, the Commercial Appeal will be just like the Daily Memphian in the next 2 to 3 years. It'll be digital only. Yeah. I bought just the Sunday paper because I wanted the Sunday paper because I get up in the morning and I read that Sunday paper until CBS Sunday morning comes on. Okay? Yeah. That's my Sunday morning. And now I don't get it till Tuesday half the time. What? I'm glad we said this because it reminds me I gotta cancel this thing. But
it's just not relevant.
Once they stopped trucking it in from Jackson after they moved it, they just said we're going to put it with the post office. I'm going to be a day or two late. They're more. Saying to you, we're not serious about the print edition.
Absolutely. And the thing is that the technology was there to be able to put it up online and have people read it at 6 o'clock the next morning.
Right. Well, the story can change in an hour, and you're reading it instantaneously.
But the Daily Memphian's doing that. The TV stations are doing that. What I don't understand about the TV stations, they're covering, because when I was a spokesperson for the sheriff, they're doing my news news conferences live, streaming there at the scene, and they're putting that up. And then they won't give an update until the news because they want everybody to tune into the news.
Right.
They were fighting amongst themselves about how much do we give out beforehand.
Right. Scooping their own newscasts.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I think that was a dilemma in the very beginning of this. Probably still is.
Well, they would say, if you want more information than this, go online and we'll have it for you there. But don't go away now.
Well,
okay.
just think about the Commercial Appeals dilemma. They got a story. Should we put that on digital now, or when we still had more than 50% of the subscribers in print? Should that be where we're going to break the story? I mean, there was always an issue with that.
Well, and if you don't keep up with the times, you will fall behind the times, and that's just the way it is. It will be. Love doing what we're doing because it doesn't require you get hired by a TV station or a radio station to do it.
You're your own distributor.
Yeah, and if you go out and hustle and get your own sponsors, one of your sponsors is one of my sponsors, Southern Security Federal Credit Union.
Yeah. Thank you, Dawn Grader.
Thank you, Dawn Grader, very much. But she is a huge Memphis supporter, and that's what I figured out is go to the people that really do want to build this community up. And that is the one bone I have to pick with the local media here in Memphis is they're always talking about the bad stuff that's going on, very little about all the great things about Memphis. And I said, that's what we're going to face and focus on is the good stuff. And there's plenty to say about it. And that's why we have people like you on because you love Memphis. Look at I got a thing over my door in my garage going into my house that says, "Thank you, Memphis." And I got it from Jimmy Ogle, who took it off one of the signs at the golf tournament.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, I'd love to have that. And put it over the door. And every time I go in that door, I do thank Memphis. Memphis has given me a great life. I love the people here. And I kept thinking, what can I do to really give back? And I think that is concentrate on the good things about this place. And you being the voice of the Tigers all this time, going to the games, even when nobody was coming, you were always there. You were always doing your yeoman's work at describing what you're seeing and hearing. And that's a part of Memphis history. You are.
Well, that's very kind of you, and I do reflect upon all these days because who knows how long we get to keep our positions. I hope I get to keep it for a while longer. But it's a labor of love. I mean, I don't know what else I would do.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, and I think we all have to have something to do. I mean, I love golf, and you know that.
Yep.
But I could not just play 5, 6, 7 days a week. You got to have, I believe, something that makes you feel fulfilled. That could be a docent. That could be working production on something like this. Something that you feel you have done for the good of not only yourself but other people.
Yeah.
And otherwise, you're bored. You wither away.
Or as they used to say, don't sit around just sucking up air.
Yeah, there you go.
Which could be easy to do. You're talking about what you'll do next. I mean, as long as you're still capable and as good as you are, will you keep doing what you're doing?
I hope to for definitely the near future. Yeah.
Because, I mean, I agree with you. I could not. Daytime TV is horrible. And nighttime's not much better. But I just enjoy going out and still being involved. And I think that's the thing that keeps your mind young. Mine, you have to use your muscles, and that includes the brain.
Well, I think, and you and I are wired similarly in some of these things, that we're very fortunate that we have the ability to ad-lib, as you're talking about, and be a talent, but you also have the ability to go out and sell. You couldn't do this in a lot of different markets. Now maybe you could with a podcast. But back like when I came back from Dallas to reestablish myself before I could get back in the good graces with the big guys, I had to go out and sell. So, that's a whole different hat.
Yeah.
To be a salesperson, to learn how to take rejection when they're not going to buy you. And so you're doing that now. You're not just the talent of this show, and you've got people helping you, but you're booking the show, you're producing the show, you are selling the show, and you got, you don't want to do this for nothing. So, you got 9 really terrific sponsors. That's a lot of different talents wrapped up into one, and not everybody could do that.
Well, and I've had people tell me that you should do this. People know who you are. And I said, yeah, but I can't sell. If you tell yourself you can't sell,
right,
you're not going to be able to sell. But I don't really sell like by the numbers. I sell by you being on my show from the Lansky's and the Peabody and the image of all that, and the other sponsors are all elite sponsors. You're not just buying time on it. And plus we help teach them about their business. It's much more than just buying a sponsorship on a show. You're really joining people with common goals and making Memphis a better place to live and work. You're joining people that are all pulling the same wagon, and that makes us all stronger, and they get it. I have learned, though, if you explain what your show's about and what we're trying to do, and they look at you and go, I don't get it, I go, let's not waste our time here. Because if they don't get it, they'll never get it.
Right.
But if they do, they get it instantly. That's the way Dawn was. When I told her what I want to do about coming down here, she goes, what do you need from me? And I went, thank you, Jesus. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you come in and sit down with us. I think people love you. Ever since you got here, even though you left for a while.
Just a year.
Sherry Sawyer made you pay the price.
Yes.
But she did eventually take you back.
But I will tell you, she was just... Can I tell you one little quick Sherry story?
Yeah.
So this is right around the time that I'm doing the ball games on TV. Paul Hartledge is getting sick, and I'm going to end up being on radio. I go in to renew with Sherry. I don't know if she knew if Paul was sick or not, and I wasn't using it. I had a different agent for my ESPN work, which by the way we didn't get into, but I did everything from live billiards to NCAA wrestling championships that I knew nothing about before I did. A lot of prep. But I go in to see her, and it's just me and her, and I'm ready to quibble with her about money. And she goes, Davey, she and my dad are the only ones that ever call me Davey. Davey, I'm going to help you out here. She wrote in a clause that I could leave her station if the radio gig at the U of M came open. I could go with those rights to the opposing competing radio station. I never would have thought about that. That's the kind of human being and boss Sherry Sawyer was. And I always think to myself, if I ever were in a position where I was really, and it's probably too late for me now, but if I were, I would try to emulate that you really got to think of everybody's good fortune.
Yeah. And help them.
And help them because they end up helping you. It's all one team.
Yeah.
She was great. Anyway, that's my last story.
Well, there's so many. We'll have you back because there's other things that will come up, and your observations about the coming year. We may have you come in and talk about that because we don't have a sports department either.
Yeah.
And but you have your show every morning.
Yes.
What time does that come on?
That is from 10 to 11, Sports 56.
And that's Monday through Friday.
Yep.
And, of course, any of the basketball games, football games, he's there for those. And let's cheer on the Tigers this year. I can't wait.
I have good feelings about this year.
Well, I'm
we haven't seen Charles Huff, really coach yet, but we've seen him 2 other places succeed. And I'll tell you, as far as being an orator, a communicator, he's unreal.
I like him.
And I love Penny. And I think Penny has put together this team with a whole new formula, a whole different sense of purpose, and I think they're going to be successful.
The problem Penny had, and you know it, and everybody else in Memphis does too, he inherited a team that had an attitudinal problem that they tried to get through with the previous coach, and Penny thought because of his status and his experience, and some of the kids listened, some of them didn't listen, but these players are all his players now. And I think that's going to make a huge difference.
And he's had pretty good teams. Out of the 8 years, 5 or 6 were really good. He's had a couple of bad ones, and that's really on him. Last year he made a mistake with timing and got kind of stuck with some guys, but he's definitely come up with a new formula, and I think it'll be successful.
Well, I certainly hope for him and for the Tigers, but more so for him because I've known him for so long. So have you.
He's a great guy.
And he is a great guy. The other tragedy this weekend was the Grizzly player that sadly passed away.
Yeah.
And there are all kinds of things being said about that. But with fentanyl that's out there, and we all know it's out there.
Well, I don't know what this was.
And we don't. None of us do. But there are a lot of people coming up with theories, which always happens when there's not any real information coming out.
This kid was a delightful guy by any measure that I ever witnessed, or by look at the reaction from the community
and his teammates
over his passing and his teammates. Now, if we're going to be fair, here's a guy who had never been in any trouble that anybody knew about, that 5 or 6 weeks ago he gets caught with this drug, which is legal almost in every state except for Arkansas, where he got caught speeding.
Yeah.
And then everything seems to spiral from there. So I have no idea if this was depression or trying to escape what he doesn't know is going to happen in the future, and he overdoes it with something else. But the drug he caught with in Arkansas wouldn't kill you.
Well,
so I don't think that was that.
I don't think so either. The other thing is I just think people are much too quick to assume things. And if everybody loved him, he was a good guy.
Yeah.
And if he did make a mistake, God bless him.
Yeah.
We all do. The thing with Tiger, he's back from his rehab, and yet there's all kinds of stuff floating around about that, and they're going to increase the charges or whatever. Now, he's had tremendous amount of success, fame, and everything else, but also he has not had an easy life. And with the wrecks he's had, with a golf club and a car, and
he's brought, and I'm a big Tiger guy, but
huge Tiger.
All of his problems he's brought upon himself.
But then most of us do, and I guess that's my point.
That's true.
Yeah, because none of us infallible, and some more fallible than others. But they nearly took his leg off. In fact, it had been nearly taken off in that last wreck he had. And who knows what kind of pain he goes through. I know Rush Limbaugh got hooked on OxyContin because of his problems with his back, and then ended up taking his hearing. And so, nobody told him that if you take too much of that.
Well, in Tiger's case, this is how messed up he was, right? He's slurring. We all saw the body cams and everything else. He was on his way to practice. This wasn't, he practiced for 4 hours, he popped a couple of pills because the pain was terrible, and he was headed home. No, he was on his way to practice.
I'm ready
That's
to
how
practice.
Messed up he was with pain.
Well, and the thing is, from what you hear about people who get addicted to painkillers, is it becomes a way of life, and this is just another day for you. Get up, get a couple of OxyContins, and get after it. And but it is a problem. I think more and more people realize that, and are very, very careful. The key to it is don't get started, which is why most people, when you go to the hospital, they only give you Tylenol. I don't care how kind of pain. I'm dying. A couple of Tylenol. There you go. But
it's tough.
Yeah,
I know. I had my shoulder replaced. They gave me a couple of those oxycodones. I didn't like the feeling that gave me, so I'm one of those guys. I would not get addicted to that because I didn't like it.
Well, I think most people do get off it as quick as can.
Yeah,
and
right.
And they encourage you to do that. And I never liked the feeling either because you go, ugh, and you're gone. And,
right.
And I like to kind of be around. I'm around too much, many people say. Dave Woloshin, thank you for coming in.
My pleasure.
We'll do it again.
You got it.
All right. That is our show for today. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.